We're having problems with this chainsaw. It's not starting. We've already checked that there's fuel, there's compression, and we checked the spark plug, and while we're getting electricity, there's not enough to make a spark, which is our problem. Sometimes it can get a spark for a little bit, but especially when it gets warm, it's not making a spark. If you have a chainsaw that starts cold but won't start hot, or if you're not getting a consistent spark at the spark plug, this is how to fix that.
The problem is most likely a bad ignition coil or improper spacing. I've already checked the spacing and the spark plug, which leaves me with a bad ignition coil. The ignition coil is practically the magneto for a chainsaw. It's this object in blue. I just disconnected the ground wire, and I'm going to take out the 2 bolts that hold it in place. This is a Husqvarna 372 XP x-torq, but the procedure will be the same for many of the Husqvarna chainsaws. With the 2 bolts removed, I can lift out the ignition coil. I pulled the cable off the spark plug, but there's not enough room for me to get it out, so I'm going to loosen the top cover. With the top cover loosened, I can easily pull the cable all the way out. I'm replacing the ignition coil with a genuine OEM Husqvarna replacement. There are knockoffs available. Some people say that they don't last very long. Other people say that the timing isn't right and that leads to decreased performance with the chainsaw. All of which are reasons I went OEM. I'll leave the part number in the description. I made sure to leave myself enough wire, and then I tightened the top cover back down. With the top cover secured, I put the ignition coil back in place. Then I'm putting the 2 screws in that hold it to the saw. Put these in loosely because we still need to adjust the gap. People use business cards to space the gap. I'm using a playing card, but they're kind of thin, so I'm using 2 playing cards. You put that between the ignition coil and the flywheel, and rotate the flywheel so that the magnets line up, pinching the spacers between the ignition coil and the flywheel. Then go ahead and tighten down the screws that hold the ignition coil to the saw. Once that's done, you can pull your spacers out and your gap is set. Now I'm reattaching the ground screw. This is what grounds out the ignition coil and stops the spark, stopping the saw. And I rotated the flywheel and made sure nothing was grinding or hitting into anything. Then I put the side cover back on. The wire that brings the spark to the spark plug can be snapped back on. It's pretty stiff. Make sure you get it all the way connected. And then I put the top cover back on, and we'll see if it fires up.
That's how to change the ignition coil on a chainsaw. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and follow for more.